Hello teacher, my name is Daniela Sanchez and today I'm going to present my API number 3, which is about communicative language teaching and task-based learning. So these are two approaches that have a very significant correlation. For that reason, I'm going to start explaining about the definition of CLT. So as I said before, CLT is an approach where language learning and learning itself are combined so that students will be able to learn the language as well as the content at the same time. In addition, CLT uses real-life situations. So in this case, teachers provide a real context, so students will be capable to speak or to learn, to acquire knowledge about real world situations. And also in CLT, there's the common usage of the target language. So in this case, students avoid the frequent use of their mother tongue and they start practicing communicative skills in the target language. For that reason, there's more communication rather than grammar. So grammar is not the center, it's not the priority anymore. The priority becomes communication, because communication also fosters fluency, and also students will be able to be more fluent in the target language. And finally, CLT promotes a student-centered approach. This means that students become more important than the teachers. The teachers are not the authorities anymore. The teachers will have another role. So that's why now I'm going to specify the roles of both the students and teachers. So as you can see here, the priority are the students. The students become the protagonists of the teaching learning process, and they work as communicators. So they use speaking skills rather than cognitive skills, such as completing, filling in the gaps, making grammar exercises. And that's why they have an active role. Whereas teachers work just as monitors, mentors, facilitators, guides, and mediators. Okay, so it's important to mention that CLT has its principles. So it has 8 main principles, which are: the first is using tasks as an organizational principle. So in the traditional education, grammar was the main source for learning a foreign language. But nowadays, the tasks are the main sources to learn a language. The second principle is promoting learning by doing. So there's the need to have students like hands-on activities. They have to use their hands. They have to make some activities where they interact with others. That's very important in order to produce and have a better proficiency of their language. Then principle number 3 is the inputs. The input needs to be rich. So the input are the ways that students acquire their knowledge. So the inputs, it must be that there should be less usage of their native language and more usage of the target language. Then the principle number 4, input needs to be meaningful, comprehensible, and elaborated. So it means that the knowledge should be always be related to the knowledge that they acquired before, that they learned before. So it will be easier for them to assimilate the knowledge along the lessons. Then the principle number 5, promoting cooperative and collaborative learning. It's very important that students must work in pairs, in small teams, interacting, making dialogues, conversations, and so on. Principle number 6, it's about focusing on form. So when we talk about form, it's not only grammar exercises. In this case, focusing on form means to focus on the meaning of words. So to relate the vocabulary with the meaning. And principle number 7 is providing corrective feedback. So there are two types of feedback, positive and negative. Positive is when teachers agree and also when they share and they compliment the opinions of students. But negative feedback is most commonly the error, the correction of errors, of mistakes. And it's important to have a specifically and immediate feedback. And principle number 8 is recognizing affective factors of learning. So sometimes students especially suffer anxiety, nervousness when they try to learn a new language. So it's important that students must provide a good environment to make them feel less stressed. So according to task-based learning, it's a branch of CLT, and it highlights the problem of traditional education. As I said before, most of the time students spend just filling in the gaps, doing matching activities and learning vocabulary, memorizing items, memorizing structures. But there's less fluency, there's more accuracy than fluency. So there is a lack of communicative skills, speaking skills. So that's why task-based learning is frequently used in the foreign language and in content-based learning contexts. So, but first it's important to know the definition of a task. So, Skihan in 1996 defines a task as an activity in which meaning is primary. There is some sort of a relationship to the real world. Task completion has some priority, and the assessment of a task performance is in terms of task outcome. So here, the task is more important than have language accuracy. That's why the task-based syllabus is divided in two. There are two specific types. The first is that based entirely on unfocused task. So there's only that they focus on the task that are going to be attached in the syllabus, but based on focused task means that teachers think about which tasks and which linguistic content is going to be implemented in the syllabus. And there's also a grading criteria. First, we have an input that must be a rich input, then task conditions, process factors, and finally a task outcome, which is not necessarily to have a domain in the language, but it's principally to have a domain in a specific task. So the benefits of combining CLT and TBL are very important. The first one is plurilingualism. Then students will also get more creativity and more learning skills. And also meaningful tasks are performed while content and language are learned. So to understand this and to understand the benefits and how it helps to people to have a better communication in the target language, I'm going to explain a case study that it was explained in a document I've read, which is about combining the content and also the linguistic domain in a class at the Colham European School in the United Kingdom. So in this school, they promote the learning of 4 main languages. These are English, of course, as they are native language, German, French, and Spanish. But in this case, I'm going to explain about a specific class of both of Spanish as a second language and math class. So the teacher had a rich input. This means that the teacher had an excellent knowledge of both content, in this case mathematics, and also the teacher had an excellent domain of Spanish. So here in this study, the author made a used qualitative methodology in order to check if the 8 principles of CLT are implemented in this class. So then the author's results were that the teacher had an excellent input, which is one of the most important principles in CLT. But sometimes the students preferred to use English rather than Spanish while they were doing the tasks. And also, unfortunately, there were some cases that there was not feedback. So the teacher didn't provide feedback when they finished doing the math exercises. And also the easy exercises were not appropriate. And the task was not appropriate in order to accomplish or to develop a linguistic outcome. And that's why there was no grammar implemented in the math class. And that was it. But besides, the benefits were a lot because there was more interaction among classmates. They used Spanish. Most of them used Spanish in order to solve mathematical problems. So that was a better sign to demonstrate that it's important to combine CLT and TBL. So that was everything about my presentation. Thank you so much for your attention.